What's up guys, I'm DJ Ab and today we're going to be doing a review on the MPD232 Akai Professional MIDI controller. And smash that like button if you like full reviews like this on gear, stuff that you get into or whatnot. So, MPD232 is pretty good. It's the newest version, and it's replacing the MPD32, which I've had for many years, and it worked very well. Give or take that it had to, software had to catch up. My DAW, which of choice is FL Studio. However, in particular, one of the main reasons why I got this is because it has a template in there for FL Studio. But we're gonna get more into that a little later. So, but anyways, yeah, you have your pad banks, and as you can see, the get cool colors which light up as you press them as well. The pads actually feel good. I was kind of worried about how hard the pads, because the pads seem a little hard, and I'm not really used to them. I'm kind of used to mushy pads, but the pads actually feel pretty good after working with them there. And they're real sensitive too. And you can set it at full level, so it's always triggering harder or whatnot. And that particular sound has no velocity to it, so that wouldn't be a good impression of it. So anyways, yeah, you got your note repeat, tap tempo, 16 levels, full levels or whatnot. 16 levels, you pretty much, if you're messing with a snare and whatnot and you want to have the different velocities spread out, it will spread it out as such. So that's cool. Once again, I apologize for the LED screen not being able to be visual, but it has a lot of presets in there, which, once you're on that preset button, when it's lit up like that, you just mess with this parameter knob and it'll go through all of them, which is the first one is default, which is Ableton Live Lite, which is bundled software that comes with the MPD232. And then 2 is Big Bang, which is the software that comes with it, and then MPC Essentials 1, and then Twist 2, 88, which I don't know what that is, Bitwig, so that supports that if you're wondering. Reason, if you are a Reason head, which the older one already supported that. And, and then go a little further. You got Studio One, Pro Tools, Cubase, FL Studio, which is preset 11, Sonar, Logic, AirTech, whatever that is, and then a whole bunch of generics. So, I want to go back to Ableton Live Lite. And then, you have the global settings, which has a ton of settings, which you cannot see. It makes me so sad I can. But, you can set pad levels or whatnot, and it has the traditional MPC cursor there. So you can actually navigate through it. And then, one of the options within global, you actually can set the tempo within this. So that is has me a little curious of how that's going to work. That means it kind of makes me think, that this can be a standalone sequencer, which I have seen videos of people doing it, but I don't know if they was just pulling my leg with that. And I'm pretty sure they had to use a laptop. But, $300, you get what you get. So, but yeah, that's cool. And then you can set the clock source just like on the older one. And then also you can actually reset all your factory settings just in case you mess up something. And you can set the past threshold and levels of how hard you press it or how soft you press it, you get a sound as well. And then afterwards, you just press the preset button to go back. So that's pretty cool. And then it has sequence on, and then sequence editing and tap tempo division, which is all over here. And then your control banks or whatnot. So you can kind of control different things with those different banks there. So that has me intrigued as well. And this part right here, all these the little sequencer knobs, when you're kind of sequencing individually, which we'll get into that a little further, or I'll mess with it in another video. Yeah, so that's pretty good. And then infinite knobs, which they run infinitely, and then fader knobs, which feel very good. The pads feel very good. Once again, I actually am getting used to how tough they feel, but how responsive they are. So that is actually a great thing. Now let's go ahead and get into it for the people that have patiently watched. So we're gonna go ahead and get into FL Studio. I'm gonna switch cams. and we're here. You know, we have FL Studio. I have this track pulled up. I was working on it the other day, but now we're working on it here. So this is where we're at now. This, for all the people that have just purchased this and just wondering why, you know, how I actually got it to function, because most people don't know. If you're in FL Studio or any other DAW, you actually have to go into your DAW. This is plug and play. I didn't install any software. The drivers pulled up in Windows 10 perfectly. Cool. You know, I had to send a master sync, you know, just in case, you know, just in case that, you know, just in case, so I can get the external part of it to work when I set it to external. But in the input, you know, you got to make sure that you enable the 232. Unfortunately, in FL Studio, like I said, and I presume this would be an issue, is that there is no MPD 232 set in here. Hopefully, you know, since FL Studio 12 is still kind of evolving and they're still kind of working out bugs in it, they'll add that in there. But I'm not going to get my hopes up because I already know how that goes. Because you don't see the MPD 32 in there still after all these years. But nonetheless, it is working. You know, once you enable it, it will be like that. If you're not enabled, it will look like that. Or perhaps I should move this over real quick. When it's enabled, you'll see this, but you'll see that green. You know, you got to set that. Otherwise, that's not enabled. You'll see that it's enabled right here. And then, you know, if it's not enabled, yeah. So making sure everybody is on the same page here. So that brings me to the dilemma of this right here. When I go and select the preset, which you're not going to be able to see, and that is FL Studio. When I set it to FL Studio, it gives me these nice little red pads. And then I notice that this pad right here is red. So when I go and I'm pressing the record play button, record button, none of this stuff on the transport is working. That is very disappointing. You want to know why that's disappointing to me? Because the MPD 32 worked nice and well. So the reason why it worked nice and well, and those transport buttons work, I had to go back and go and select reason. So I'm going to go and select reason and see if the reason setting works still like it did in MPD 32. No, that is highly disappointing. Now that just makes me wonder, like, why would you go through all this trouble and update something and it still not work with a DAW that everybody likes? Yeah. So anyways, going a little further, as that is pretty game breaking right there and disappointing that I, you know, do so. We're going to go and we're going to check out something. So I'm going to go and pull up what I had got the other day, and that was Trap Boom 2 or Trap Boom Pro, as I look for it. And we're pulling it up now. I'm going to pull it up. Pull up. So as it loads, we're gonna go and we're gonna just check out some of the pads and stuff like that. So as you can see, the pads at least are responsive. As I'm pressing softly. Hard. And but yeah, once again, that's one of the things that one of the fell fishes of not of the Akai, but of this particular plugin, as it is mapped very weirdly. All right, I'm turning off sequence record and stuff like that because I don't think that necessarily would affect anything. But yeah, you know, the pads and stuff like that are pretty good. You know, I got one hand to work with. But anyways, yeah. From the pad standpoint, I think it's brilliant. But the issue is of this pad and of this particular MIDI controller is the overall functionality of it. The functionality from a plug and play standpoint is still an issue to this day. I mean, I understand, you know, I would definitely, and I can, you know, fix it and stuff like that. But from a consumer standpoint, most consumers want to go plug in and play, work with their DAW immediately. And for the fact that it still does not work with one of the most dominant DAWs out there, DAWs, it's quite disappointing. I mean, it really is. And I can go and do certain things and test certain things out. Like, you know, I can select Akai APC20, APC40 and hope for the best. And probably that might work. Negative. But I'm going to go and change it back to FL Studio and see if that works. Negative. So I'm going to press the sequencer on. See if I get anything. Negative. Negative. You know, I mean, the pad functionality is brilliant. Woo. But yeah, that is pretty sad stuff there. I mean, for me, even waste 10 minutes of anybody's time for them to be underwhelmed. Yeah. But yeah, if you like this video, give it a like. Perhaps I'll make another video and give off some tips to see how I can get the MPD232 to fully function with it. But from just grabbing it and getting it new out the box and plugging and play, negative still, even from the preset that comes with it. That's supposed to be for FL Studio. So double negative. That sucks. Anyways, yeah, leave a comment. Tell me how you feel about this, if you actually bought this and you know, kind of feel the same way, or might have any tips. Yeah, other than that, I got other videos and playlists and stuff like that you could see. And don't forget to subscribe, and I appreciate y'all for your time. I am out.